Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising unboxing. This is video number 3, but this is the core set part 2. Yes, a little bit confusing, but so just as a recap, in the first video, we went through just a brief overview of all the different components of the entire Elemental's chest, which was the base game of Elemental Rising, as well as the 3 other expansions. In video part 2, or core set part 1, we went over all the heroes, the towers, all that. It was a fairly long video, so if you stuck through it, hey, you came back, congratulations and thank you. So part 3 here, we're going to go through the rest of the stuff for the core set for Elemental Uprising. We're going to go through all the Horde cards. We're going to take a quick look at that, talk about some of their special abilities. We're going to look at the champions, or like the mini bosses, as well as the bosses, and then some of the other different types of cards and stuff we can get in the game for like different mode type stuff. Alright, so I am going to we're just going to go ahead and hop right into the Horde cards. Let me zoom my camera back down here. So, all the Hordes on the back are going to have a couple of different things. So we're going to look at that really quick first, and I don't have to keep flipping them over every time. We're going to have 3 different rarities, or not rarities, but levels. We're going to have green, which is like easy. We'll have orange, which is medium, and we'll have red, which are the hard ones. This kind of helps set up your difficulty levels. And then let's have different pictures. All the pictures will be the same. They are different pictures, like the other version of Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time. So like you can't directly mix and match them. So then on the card, it's going to show various symbols. Typically, I believe all the green ones are going to show a coin. So if you defeat this card, meaning you cover up all the different tiles and you defeat them, you gain whatever the reward is at the top. So this one's a coin, which will help you buy new mods. The orange ones will have either a coin or a gem. So I give you the option to get gems or crystals to help you buy towers. And the red will always have a gem. Now, as they go along, I don't think so, but there might occasionally be some that have double or extra different rewards. But I think they kept the rewards the same. Just doing like a quick glance, it looks like the rewards are the same on every one. I know that in the original Rift in Time version, some had different rewards for each one, but they also didn't have coins in any of them because they didn't have mods. The other thing we're looking at the bottom down here is what scenario it belongs to. Not necessarily what level though. Kind of ties into the scenarios usually, but some will specify level 1 or level 2 or whatever. So that just helps you grab which set goes where. So if we look at a scenario setup guide here really quick. So if we look at the first one here, see if we can get that zoomed in enough. So down here it's going to show our Horde. It's going to say Wave 1, Wave 2, and Wave 3. So these will be our different waves of characters. So you have 1 green, 2 yellow, and 1 red from the Wave 0, Wave 1, and Wave 2. So you're not getting a whole bunch of red in there. A little bit easier that way. And then it kind of shows you how to set those up. So spawn waves, you set them up like that. So you'll have your bottom of the stack will be your 1, and then a 2, a 0, a 0, so on and so forth. Your 2 greens. It'll kind of give you the idea of how to set each of those up. And then if we jump back a page to the actual setup, so it's going to show our Wave 1, Wave 2. Same exact thing we just had right there. But it's going to kind of show you how to set each of those up. So it's gather the place spawn cards face down. You just stack, and just show an example. Stack 1 has a green card on the bottom and a red card on the top. You'll place each spawn stack next to the spawn map as shown. So you're going to know like going through which one, like what rarity you're going to be coming across ahead of time. But because there's 3 of each different color for each wave, so in like wave 0, there's 3 greens, 3 oranges, and 3 reds. You're not going to necessarily know which ones you're going to be playing against. So you could play the same exact one 3 times, and you could end up with a different red, a different version of yellow, and a different version of green. Although they're, for the most part, each one has the exact same minions on there or enemies. They're just in different orders. So we'll see that as we go through. The one other type of tile that we have in here is we do get 3 copies of a blank one. So it'll be that on that side. And then, so if these are ever drawn in there, it's just basically you ignore it and you don't summon anything. This is just kind of a way to break up a little gap in there. So that's pretty cool. We have those. Alright, we're going to go ahead and look at this. So our first green one there, for level 0. So on the bottom of each card, it's also going to show a little purple and another color. So it'd be green for easy level, yellow, or red, depending on which one. And this always dictate which side of the board the card faces. So if that little the little line is on the bottom, and the exit is on the bottom, this card will always go this way. So this will never turn this direction. It'll never be this way. For the most part, it's just so you know which direction your card's moving. In Rift in Time, it made a lot more difference because there were a lot of tiles you couldn't rotate. So if a tower shot something forward, if it showed an L, a 3x1, like a straight line, like Tetris blocks style one, and it showed it going this direction. Let me grab a tile here and kind of example. So yeah, in Rift in Time, if you had a tower over here that showed that this direction was aimed this way, you could only put this tile this way. If it showed it aimed this direction, you could only put it this way. In Elemental Uprising, all towers are freely rotatable. So it doesn't make that big of a difference for putting things on there for what directions it is, but in Rift in Time, that makes a huge difference. But then it's also just, again, to keep that down there. So we have a couple of different guys on here. So now I took the extra work to go look up on the wiki sites to find out what the name of all these enemies are. They're not listed anywhere in the books or on the cards or anything. Maybe they might be referencing like a text somewhere occasionally, like, oh, this guy has this, or when it lists a new enemy type, but it doesn't always. So our little tribal guys there are called Savage Warriors. And then our big one with the giant gorilla is called a Gorillayan. Not really sure how to pronounce that. It's Gorillaon. So like Gorillayan. You can see he takes up 4. So he actually has a special attribute. He's called a big character. Or a big enemy. I forgot exactly what they call them. So yeah, so every time these escape, you do 1 point of damage to your kingdom for each enemy that escapes. So there's potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Savage Warrior damage. And then the bigger guy, if he's not completely covered, he does 4. So you have to defeat all of him or none of him, or all of him to have him considered not to be doing any damage. So that does make them guys a little bit harder, because you can't just cover parts of them. Then we have our second card. So I'm going to drop this back down just so I don't get it in the way. Our second card is going to be the same thing. Same number of guys. It should still be 7. 7 small guys, 1 big guy. They're just now in a different order. And again, for this one, to some extent, it's not that big of a difference. But it does, because these guys are grouped up a little bit more together in one spot. So it's just that one kind of outlier. This is the one outlier, but these couple guys over here could make it a little bit harder. Then the third one, you have one guy that's kind of off by himself. Just a different orientation. Because again, you could play the same scenario 3 times. with each time doing a different one of these, and you're not going to be able to play your characters the exact same way. Alright, so then we're going to jump in and we're going to look at the yellow ones. So the yellow ones are going to give us, are going to give us some more Savage Warriors, but we are also going to get, the Saker Cutthroat, which has a special damage icon. Let's see. So special damage. Only true damage, soldiers and heroes can cover this enemy icon. So that makes him, even for like beginning of the game, that makes him kind of hard. So you have to put soldiers on him. Your heroes specifically on, or Sand Warriors, I would imagine would also work. Or you have to put true damage on him, so you can't put just the magic or that. So it's going to make him a little bit trickier. The second one, we have the same thing, just in different orders. Then the third one, which is actually a little bit differently. So it's like, sometimes this will happen. It's not very often. But here we also have two of the big guys as well. Alright, then if we jump into red, we're just going to get a bunch of the Savage Warriors and Gorillons. We have a second one like that with 4. So I think that one has 3. This one has 4. It's a little bit different here. And then this one's just a bunch of Savage Warriors. So yeah, they're not always the exact same numbers, but usually they're pretty close. And then usually when you jump up to the next level, you usually add some new enemies, new threats in there. So each level, like each wave 0 has these two or 3 guys. Wave 1 will have some of these guys carry over, some new guys, some old guys from the original game too, which we will see. So alright, we're at wave 1 there. We're going to look at this. So right here we have more Savage Warriors. We also have the wolf. The wolf spelled W-U-L-F, so it is wolf. These guys have the speed icon, so that means they move twice. So you want to cover up at least those guys as quickly as possible. Then we have our second one and our third one. For our yellow, we are going to get one with the Sakers, Cutthroats, and a bunch of the Wolves. These are going to be a lot more pain to take care of. Second one and third one there. And then for our red ones, we are going to get just a lot more of everything there. So to get rid of them, Cutthroats goes back to just the Savage Warriors, but we have a lot more of each. Alright. Then for wave number 2, we are going to get a brand new guy. We are going to get the Magma Elemental, who is also big. So you have to cover up, but he also has this purple border around him, which is tough. Enemies are always large. I guess they call them large, I call them big. And each of the given tough squares must be covered by a different hero or damage tile. However, a given hero or damage tile may cover a single square of more than one different tough enemy. Yeah, so it's just saying, to cover up all 4 of them, you have to deal with 4 different types of tiles. So this would be, I just got a couple different ones here. Let's say we have a tower that shoots out in magic. We can put a magic, we can't put it like that. We could put it like this and cover up one of his. We could put it this way and cover up 2, but we can't have 2 of them on the same one. But it does say you can put 2 like this. So if we have the arrows, we could drop it all the way across and cover 3. So 1 from each guy. So that's definitely possible. So the same damage tile can hit multiple guys. It just can't be on there. But that's, again, you make them trickier. Because normally, your hero is 4 squares. You could just put your hero on top of one of the big guys, and that takes them out. But now you can't do that. Or if you have, like, the magical tower that shoots 4, that'd be, boom, very helpful. But yeah, that's going to make that harder. Then in our next one, we just have 2 more, so those guys are a little bit closer. Again, might be easier, because you could do L shape there, 2 spot there, or an L shape here. You have some more different options, but again, maybe being too close might be hard to do that as well. And our third one. Our yellows, we're going to get wolves instead with the Magma Elementals. And we have 3 of those. Then when we get to our 4th one, we are going to add a bunch of stuff in here. So here we have our Magma Elemental, but now we also have two other things in here. We have our Brigands, which are the little guys covered in blue, and we have some giant spiders, which are the yellow ones. So the blue is magic vulnerability. Only magical and true damage, including hero miniatures, can cover this icon. And then physical, which is the yellow ones, only physical and true damage can cover this. So that's going to make it even harder to take these guys out. Because, so now if I have, again, let's just, if we look at our magical one here, I can only cover up one square on him, and I can cover up those guys. So yeah, I can cover up something like that, or I can do like that. But the thing is, I can't do this, and I can't cover up through that way, because the blue can't cover up the yellow. So that's going to make that a little bit more tricky sometimes, because then you have to watch what type of damage you have. And like, again, we have something like this one. So like this is going to be even harder to use. I could cover up like that very clearly, but I can't do this because it'll cover up two of them. You know, I can't do that to cover them up. Can't do something like that. I'd have to go off the tile and miss one, you know, or I have to do that. So yeah, there's some different shapes and styles are all going to make all the difference. Then to add in our next one, we have more of the little Brigands, but then we also have a giant scorpion, which is a large enemy, plus he has the physical resistance. And then the last one, we're just gonna have three big guys, and the blue guy is a marauder. Yeah, so crazy, right? Give me some interesting ones I have to deal with. Alright, let's look at wave number 3. Alright, wave number 3 is going to add a brand new element. These are our our spirit shamans on here. Is that right? I think I wrote these down wrong. But yeah, these are spirit shamans. The little blue guys, blue-haired guys. So what they do is they produce magical shields on there. So what it means is you cannot attack with magic from that direction. So that would be is if I have a tower. Let me grab a tower out of here. And if we look at our board. So if I have a tower shooting this direction, it can shoot up through there and it can do damage. But if for some reason I was way over here, I was shooting, it cannot shoot magic through those sides. So unlike the little squares, which limit which guy you can and can't hit, you can still do magic damage to every single one of them guys. You just can't hit them from that side. So that is definitely going to make, something like that's going to make those guys a little bit harder to deal with. But again, that's the whole point of this. It's all strategy, trying to figure that out. Otherwise, I don't have any other special abilities. And there were some mods that got rid of them. The totems, little totem circles, got rid of those. There's our second one, and there's our third one for green. In yellow, we swap out the Savage Warriors for the Cutthroat Satyrs, but it still has the borders on the side. And then when we get to the red one, we're going to swap out for Wolves, but they also have the borders on the top of them. Now, if you cover every single one of those guys, then border disappears. Now, on something like one of these, you could maybe focus on the blue-haired guys, the shamans, to take them out, and then you could work on the cutthroats if you had to. Here, you're going to really, again, with that speed on there from the wolves, you're going to want to try and take out them wolves almost first. Then we just got another full tile and another full tile there. Yeah, so that's wave 3. Wave 4, let's hop right into this. So we have some more combinations, giant spiders, some savage warriors, and some wolves. And we have some more different ones of those, and some different ones there. In yellow, we have the brigands instead of the spiders. Just a little bit. So not adding too many new elements in this round. And then in red, we're going to throw the satyrs and the spiders and the brigands all together. So a lot of interesting damage. Again, when these guys kind of all start getting mixed together, they're going to be a little bit harder to take out. Because then you can't use some of the bigger tiles, or you have to arrange your tiles in better directions. You might have to focus more on playing with soldiers, because they can have one spot each. And then some of the magic, you're going to have to maybe look at getting towers that get you single spots versus, you know, having ones that do 4 squares. Like, right, we have the one magic tower that does an L or it does a 4. You might have to make sure you upgrade that tower to the ones that do the single tiles. It's going to force your hand at that. Alright, wave 5. There are 9 waves, by the way. Alright, so now we have on wave 5, we have our Earth Shaman here. So we had our Spirit Shaman before, now we have our Earth Shaman, which does the same thing. He has the shields on there, but instead he blocks physical damage from them directions. So we just got 3 of those, a couple of different ones. Then we have yellow, they're at the top and bottom instead. And then in red, we're going to have them back on the sides. We're going to add that magma elemental back in there, just to keep things interesting, right? Alright, wave 6. We're getting through these guys. Alright, we have a new type. The Twilight Evoker, who has healing. Heal all, so that's the little, like, plus symbols in there. It says, 1 or more, heal all icons are visible on a horde. Remove all damage from all tiles, each horde adjacent to it. Yeah, so when this advances, it's going to heal all damage on the tile and each adjacent horde to it. So as soon as this hits, your first objective needs to be taking care of them. Like, the wolves were bad because they're going to move quicker. These guys are terrible because they're just going to keep healing everything around it. The only time you could maybe, like, ignore it is if it's by itself, or, like, it enters and there's nothing else around it. You could probably ignore it for a turn. But if it starts getting near something else, or it's right behind something else, you're definitely going to. Otherwise, you're just backpedaling your inch. They're going to be a pain, definitely. So on our next screen, we just have more of the same, just in different spaces. Then when we get to yellow, we're going to have a problem. We have Earth and Spirit Shamans with them. So it's going to block blue from magic from one side, and physical from the other side. It's going to be very strategic. The second one does it the opposite direction, and then it goes back for the third one. Alright, then if we want even more challenge, we can hop into red. We have them giant scorpions, the Marauder, as well as now we have 5 of the Twilight Evokers to heal. Then we get same thing there. And then instead we swap out one of the scorpions for another Marauder. Definitely can see how this is going to get challenging over time, right? For wave 7, we actually don't have a green level. It jumps right into yellow. But that's because these are flying tokens, or creatures. So flying hordes, I guess. So when a flying horde moves, either spawns or advances. First, remove all soldiers and retreat all heroes from it. They can't stick with the group because they go in the air. If another non-flying horde is in front of it, put the flying horde on top of the non-flying horde. Don't remove any damage tiles. When a flying horde moves, it uncovers a horde that was below it. The latter moves normally in the same turn. Yeah. So what that means is basically if I have my flying horde here and I have these guys here, when they advance, they're just going to cover up this guy. So now I have to take them out before they can do it. Now it does prevent those other guys from moving for a turn because they're not visible. But then when they move next turn, they're going to go here. And then when these guys activate, they're going to jump over these guys, jump over them and go right to the end. So they're going to keep advancing. So like they pause them for one turn. And then the next turn, they basically get to move even farther. But the thing is, if there was already something here, this one would then fly on top of that one, you know. So it's going to make that kind of a little bit tricky, because you might be like, oh, I almost got this one beat, and then a flying horde will pop out, cover them up. And what do we have on here? We have Soaring Razor Wings. So that's what we have on there. And then we just have 3 different ones. Now, you cannot place tiles on the orange part there, I believe. Yeah, you can't cover squares with flying with any damaged tiles. So that also makes that a little bit tricky, because it's not... I think the idea is saying you can't cover it up to, like, knock them down from flying. Which that I would understand if that's why they're trying to just say it that way. But it kind of makes it hard with saying you can't put anything on there. But I think that's sort of the same thing with the magic shields on our other tiles. You can't put stuff on those tiles. But that's not as bad because they're on the border anyhow. But some of these flying ones are kind of, I mean, they're off to the side, but they are getting right in the way of your guys. Then for the red one, we are going to get this monstrosity. So now we have this Soaring Quetzalcoatl, who's also a large enemy. He also has speed, and he is tough. So that's going to make him even more difficult to take out. So they're going to fly 2 spaces. And we got 3 of those. Yeah, so level 7 is no joke at all. Level 8. We're going to get some new guys in level 8. Level 8, we are entering more of the desert. We have some Dune Terrors. They have this big giant black one, which is called Evasive Horde. Damage tiles can't be placed on Evasive Horde unless there's at least 1 soldier or 1 hero on it. You can't cover squares with that symbol with any damage tile. So you can't put any here, but you can't also put any other tower damage on there unless there's a hero or a soldier on there. So you have to place someone on there first. Basically, like, entice the worm to pop out of the ground, Tremor style, to come after you. Then you can start attacking it. So not necessarily super difficult, but it is going to make just the order of your operation a little bit different. You have to make sure you're utilizing them soldiers or heroes. And then we just got 2 more with a bunch of those. In yellow, we're just going to get tiles with a lot more of them. And then in red, we are going to get evasive guys here. But these are the Bandersnatch. So they're big enemies with armor, like the tough armor and the speed. And again, you have to throw 1 guy on there to take them over first before they can be defeated or start attacking them. We just got 3 of those. So those guys are kind of a pain as well. Then our last set of Horde is going to be level 9. And we have more Savage Warriors. These guys made a comeback. But we have the Saurian Death Coils. They do something special. So that little, like, orange mark by them, which looks like a little flame coming off their head, is actually a new ability. It's called Sharpshooter. When this icon is visible on a Horde, the Horde will not move. Instead of moving, it deals 1 damage to a hero of the player's choice. Once all Sharpshooter icons are covered, the Horde will move along the path as usual. If a Horde of the visible Sharpshooter also has speed icons, trigger the Sharpshooter effect only once. Sharpshooter Hordes may only be a target of currently on the board. So, yeah, what that's going to do is these guys will sit in 1 spot, which means other enemies will just hop over them. So it's not like it prevents other characters from moving, but they'll keep shooting your heroes. Now, it's only going to do, it says... Yeah, so it's only going to do 1 damage. It's not going to do 4 damage, but you have to cover up all 4 spots, and they're kind of spread out. But yeah, so that means especially if, like, we get these last guys, these evasive, if they happen to be out and you have to put your guys on there, they're going to take them. Now, they don't shoot soldiers, which is kind of nice. They just shoot your heroes. But again, some of your heroes only have 3 health. So, I mean, you're taking too much damage from these guys. If you put them on a tile and those guys move, you also take damage. So if you don't cover these guys up, your guys are going to keep getting knocked out, which means then you have to wait more turns or spend turns resting. Is just going to slow your game way down. So we have that 3 different versions of those. In yellow, we are going to get Sharpshooter with our Death Coils. We're going to get some Wolves of Speed and some Giant Scorpions. Very crazy. Then our final set, we're going to get these shamans are coming back, blocking from the different sides. Alright, so those are all of our different regular Horde cards. So they're going to come in, they're going to do stuff, and mess you up. There are a couple other special cards here. So we have some not a boss card. He's kind of like a mini, he's a mini boss of a mini boss. So I forgot what, this is a giant lava elemental. I forgot if he has an exact name. I don't see one listed. I'd have to dig to the scenario guide to find it. But this is part of Eldrick's mission in one of his scenarios. Let's see if it says there. Play towers, play heroes. Fireclaw. This is Fireclaw. So this is part of scenario number 3. He actually stays stationary on the board, and your job is to take him out. There's special conditions to do that. So you can see he has certain tiles. And then like a boss card kind of. He gains extra tiles. And then finally he has a big token there in the front, which is like a victory point. On the back side, he's also going to have some special things. So like, it's just saying how you get, as you defeat him, you just flip this over and do different stuff for each one. And then finally you do the rest of the thing and you finish him off and you win the scenario. So it's kind of like an interesting little like scenario boss versus like a regular champion. Then we do have 4 champions, which are like the mini bosses of the game. So we're going to look at each one of these. They'll pop up in various scenarios, but they're also used in the Rift, which is a very confusing name for it. The Rift mode, which is kind of like a create your own scenario after you beat everything. So we have Anubis here, who will have his own special cards. He's actually champion number 4. So I'm going in wrong order for these. Let me, I forgot these had different orders. Champion 3, Champion 2, Champion 1. Let's look at before we even look at Champion 1, let's look at, we have the Champion Action Deck. So the Action Deck is going to be every time a Champion card activates, on the board, you're going to flip over one of these cards. And it's going to show they have different skulls. So your guy's going to have different skulls on there. And it says, if this card has more than one skull, it performs its special attack. Each character will have their own special attack, which will be listed on their big card as well as in the book. We have one that says if they have more than 2. We have one that says they have more than 3. One that says they have more than 4, and one says if they have more than 5. So each one's just, so as every time a champion activates, you flip one of these cards and you see if it does its special ability. So there's gonna be, the 1 means it's gonna hit probably every time unless you have any of them, unless you have them all covered. The 5 is gonna be a lot harder. So it's kind of like very simple, just kind of lets you know it's just not hitting every single time. So our first one up is the Hobgoblin Warchief. Who will have some special abilities and stuff as well. So if we flip him over, his special attack is called Cleave. It says remove all soldiers from this horde and each adjacent horde. Then all heroes on the adjacent horde suffer 1 damage. So yeah, when he does this, he'll get rid of all them heroes and soldiers. Yeah, so and then all the heroes will take extra damage. But yeah, because yeah, getting rid of all the soldiers is really gonna kind of suck, right? Because you know, they're harder to put back out. Let me check something in the book here on his mission, because he appears fairly early on. I just wanted to see if it said something special in there for this. Yeah, I just seeing if it said anything different for removing that, if it said something like they don't take extra damage or anything, but it does not specify that. Alright, then he'll have special tiles that come out. So as C1, he has some blossoms on there. Yeah, so he's a extra large enemy, so he just takes up more space than a regular one, but again, you have to defeat all of them. There's his 5 different skulls. And then the other one, these guys are going to be purple and black. So that's how you tell them apart. And then just another one and just a third one. So it's all the same size, he just kind of moves around. But it gives you different ones you might have to draw, and they'll be like C1 on each one. So I think it's kind of like you to draw a random one. So again, you can't time exactly how you're going to take him out. Alright, up next we have Jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern plays a little bit trickier. So on the back side, it also did show what happens if you defeat them. So if you defeat him, you gain blossoms back. That's the idea there. Otherwise, they do have some other stuff. So Jack-o'-lantern here has a bunch of special. He has Thriller. When the Horde with Jack-o'-lantern is activated, because he goes on the card, he goes on the tile. Remove all damaged tiles and soldiers from that tray. All hero miniatures and sandwares and Jack-o'-lantern tray receive 1 damage and each must retreat 1 adjacent space. Place Jack-o'-lantern tray card on the top of the spawn stack next to the event token. You may leave it in the tray if you like, just so we don't have to keep popping in and out. 4. Place a pumpkin horde face up in the tray. In a tray on the same space previously occupied Jack-o'-lantern tray. But then it advances immediately. All pumpkin hordes have speed icons, so they move twice. And then 5, move the event token to the next spawn spot. So 2 goes to 1. In descending order. 1 goes to 4, 4 to 3, 3 to 2. Yeah, so basically what Jack is going to do is, when you activate him, he'll be on the board, and he will, when he's activated, he's going to move. He's going to remove all damaged tiles and soldiers from that tray. And then he jumps to the next spawn spot. So he's going to pop in, get a do some stuff, and then he's going to leave. And then he's going to pop in, he's going to leave. He's going to pop in and leave. But then when he leaves, he drops a pumpkin horde. So you have to defeat him fairly quickly, which is kind of how he works. So here are his Jack-o'-lantern cards. He'll give you a coin and a gem. So he's a little bit smaller than the other guy. But it does show you as that speed icon. And he only has 4 skulls, so he never will trigger with that 5th one. But then what he does is he also has his hordes, which will give us ghouls, which all have the speed icon as well. So then he'll drop these guys in his place. So basically he'll spawn at one spot, come in, he'll get a move 2 spots, disappear, somewhere, drop these guys in his place, you then also move, right? And then he's going to go to the next spawn spot, come back in, keep doing that. So you have to try and defeat him quick. I believe all the damage tokens will stay on him. So, he'll keep taking damage, he'll leave, he'll come back, he'll have damage on him, but it still removes him for the board for a round. So that is our second champion, Jack. Up next, we have the Shadow Champion, which is kind of like a Barlog. So he has Devourer. Move all soldiers and heroes from the Shadow Champion's card. Heroes must retreat but take no damage. After Shadow Champion advances, place a fault line large side up in a space it left. If there are no fault lines left to place, the kingdom loses 1 heart. And so I showed off in the previous video, the fault lines are these. I grab one here. There are these little tokens here. So they'll have a large side on there, and then when a hero stops on there, then it drops to a smaller side, and then when you step on a 3rd time, you remove it. So again, it's just going to mess with the board, because then guys can move around and move over them, and things like that. Let's see if I can find the exact rules for those. Fault lines are a new environmental feature. They're placed on a path tile. All hordes move on the path jump over fault lines. It just makes it you can't retreat to a fault line. And if all of them are done, then you lose the thing. So then now you have to not waste time, you have to spend extra time getting rid of those. So they're definitely going to make that a little bit harder or trickier to do. So then there's the back of his card. He doesn't even give you any rewards. He's kind of a jerk. But yeah, look at that. He has, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he has a big giant area, a 9 square. So yeah, he's got, again, our highest champion card says it has 5, right? 5 or less, basically. So now here you have to at least remove 3 of them to start stopping them things from possibly happening. So there are his 3 cards. Our 4th and final champion, mini boss, we looked at a little bit earlier, like Anubis. And if we flip him over, he has Special Action Army of the Dead. When Anubis is activated, place the top Horde card from Anubis' graveyard in the space he just moved out of. The Horde placed in this manner is not activated. If Anubis was activated but he didn't move, i.e. when a soldier or hero prevented movement, the Horde is spawned in front of him. Anubis' grave. Anubis' passive ability, whenever a Horde is destroyed, move it to his grave and shuffle the graveyard. So yeah, he's going to be a pain to not get rid of, because that means every turn he's going to basically place something you just defeated, and standing on top of him, not to try and put extra damage on him, is only going to help so much, because others are going to spawn in front of him. Luckily they don't move, but that also means that if you have a hero on top of him, he can't move, he spawns something in front of him, a guy comes up behind him, they're going to jump 2 spaces, right? Or even the other way, if he spawns behind, he moves further, they spawn behind him, they can jump 2 extra spaces. So there's his card. Again, he doesn't have anything special for us. And then he's going to have 5 skulls. 6. 5 on that one. 5 on that one. 6 on that one. Alright, but again, so you can see how they're definitely a little bit more of a hazard than some of the regular guys. The special abilities are going to cause some issues. But, you know, nothing that you can't deal with, right? Alright, then up next, we have our bosses. So bosses are going to have a couple of different things. They're going to first of all have a miniature, unlike the champions. They're going to have their health cards, which also have special things on the back. Then they have their own specific action deck. So much like the champion deck, but they're specific towards that character. So we're going to look at the Leviathan first. I'm going to grab his miniature here, if you want to call it that. So here is his big old ugly face. It's kind of cool because he's sunk into the water. And then what we have are 4 tentacles. So we have 2 of them that go up and 2 of them that kind of angle. So when he is on the board, he's going to have tentacles that pop up in various spots. I believe they're only going to pop up, the scenario tell you where they can pop up. They might pop up on a card, but instead of a boss, they always take up 1 full space. Now, you can put them in there in a tray as well. They will fit in there, so if you want to not have them sliding around on the bottom of the board, but either way. But yeah, you can see they're definitely going to take up some space. So like in the actual scenario cards, it will tell you which one, like, it came from the deep. And if we get to that, it will, if there's anything special in there, otherwise you have to check the actual cards. So if we look at, his actions, we're going to look at the back of his health card. So it says, the sea monster sinks under the water to escape your barrage of tower attacks, retreating only for a moment. Remove all tentacles from play, push Leviathan back to the top of the water path. Leviathan does not move this round and still acts. So, yeah, he's going to be spawning on the water tiles. So, here's an example there. There's the 3-sided water tiles, or the 2 and the 1. He's going to spawn right there. And And then he'll kind of hang out on there, and he'll summon his tentacles in different, various ways throughout the match. So once you defeat him, so like here's his first side. He's gonna have a 9x9, so the same size as all our champions, but no special extra effects. But again, you just kind of set this off to the side, and this covers his damage. It's not actually on the board, so you can't ever put heroes and soldiers can't be placed on top of bosses. If we go to set 2, now he's gonna add some more spot. He also has an armored spot, so those spots do not have the same type of damage, which is gonna make that more difficult. If we beat that, it says push Leviathan back to the top of the water path. If we get 3, which even more of him's revealed, a bigger armored spot. Push Leviathan back 1 space on the water path. Put Leviathan's deck into the discard pile and remove all action cards that damage heroes. Reshuffle Leviathan's action deck. Leviathan does not move this round, it still acts. And then finally we get one where it's almost a full tile, almost full damage. Toughness is going to be a pain. Says he is defeated, dives in the water and vanishes. You win. Alright, so then his action cards. He's going to have various ones here. So we're just going to show what each one does. Don't remember if I have a quick reference guide to this. No, they did quick reference guides for the champions, but not the bosses. And they might change for each round. I'm going to try and flip to the scenario with this to read through this quick. Move all of my hordes out of the way. So yeah, he'll have different symbols on here. So it says, before preparing the game, prepare Leviathan life stack consisting of 4 Leviathan life cards, put them in order near the top. The other 5 Leviathan cards without numbers and squares are action cards. Put the cards with the destroyed building in his discard pile, then shuffle the remaining Leviathan action cards, put them nearby. These cards are his action deck. So triggering, during phase 4 events, before you advance any other horde, he acts, draw cards, first card from the deck, perform both actions are first the upper left, then the lower right action. Then move Leviathan 1 space through the water, discarding his action card. This deck is empty, discard, shuffle all discard to form a new deck. In order to win this scenario, you have to defeat Leviathan 4 times before he manages to move off the bottom, or you lose. So the symbols on here are going to be the one with the no heart on there. It's going to say deal 1 damage to each hero that is adjacent to any tentacle. Yeah. So there's that. And then it says the other one is 2. Distribute the number of indicated tentacles among building sites adjacent to Leviathan. So what he's going to do is he's going to hop on the different build sites, which means then you can't place anything else on there. And I think the little fist on there means you can use these with the Iron Challenge. So we'll get 2 of those ones. We'll get 1 of this. It says dead place 2 tentacles and then do 2 damage. So the other one, so that's the difference here. This one's going to do damage if they're already out. If there's no tentacles out, it's not going to do anything. Then you place 2. This will place 2 tentacles, then do damage. So to start off the game, you don't have this symbol because these ones start in your discard pile. Then this will place you 1, and it says each tentacle destroys a tower underneath or adjacent to it. Put destroyed towers in supply. If there are several possible targets, choose a tower in the tentacle space instead of a tower adjacent to it. Each tentacle may destroy only 1 tower. Yeah, so that's gonna suck. And then this one destroys a tower and then puts all 4 in there. So those are going to be bad. There's otherwise no way to get rid of the actual towers or the tentacles themselves. So they're just gonna kind of pop out and cause problems. Except for when you defeat them, then you remove all the tentacles. Alright, up next we have our final boss of the game, who is the Elements. So here is his miniature. So he's a multi elemental being here. So we got a rock monster here, or like rock snake. We have water dragon. I believe that's might be the fire dragon. Nope, that's the fire one on that side. So you can see the picture there. So we have the big rock snake. We have the fire one on this side, kind of like yelling at you. We have a water one there, kind of being all drippy. And then we have a winged one. So he's a big elemental dragon, just kind of all fused together, which is pretty crazy. He's also going to have 4 health things. So let's take a look at those. So our first one, he's got a couple of spots you can do mixed around. And that's going to say deal 1 damage to every hero standing in a space with any blossom elements, does not move and act this turn. Yeah, so that's always fun. I was just trying to see where his boss battle was, because it might have special things. Okay. Nope, I don't see anything other special in there. He has some special setup stuff, but I'm not going to worry about that. Alright, then we have number 2. A couple more spots revealed. Remove all blossoms from play. Place elements on a space besides the spawn point 3. If there are any horde there, retreat all soldiers from it and all heroes from it. It moves 1 space before moving elements. And if we get 3, we're getting the rest of that side fixed or uncovered. Destroy the white build site. All towers from that space go to the supply. Put a lava pool in this place without any gold or crystals. It will trigger after the hordes advance for the rest of the game. And then the final one is after you defeat every single tile on there, you win the kingdom, survives the end of the round. And we have his action cards. So we have magic. Return 1 tower that is adjacent to the elemental supply. Iron challenge, draw another action card. Setup. Put this card in the discard pile. So this one doesn't start right away, but he has different elements for each one. So he has for his air. Yeah, so if you're playing the Iron Challenge, you also do the Iron effect, but that's harder difficulty. Players choose 1 horde, remove all figures from it, and move it forward 1 space. Trigger this effect once again, you may choose another horde for the second effect. Earth. After moving elements, place 1 fault line in its space. In 3 to 4 player games, put another one on another open space. In Iron Challenge, each adjacent hero in the newly placed fault line loses protection and is dealt 1 damage. For fire, each tower adjacent to the elements is returned to the supply and replaced by another tower of this type with a lower level. At least you don't fully lose it, I guess. Iron, each hero adjacent to the element takes 1 damage. And then finally, water. Each player places a tentacle on a build site that doesn't have a hero attached or a tentacle. Oh, that's crazy, because that messes with what you get to do. For each tentacle on a empty build site, deal 1 damage to the kingdom. Yeah. So that is our 4 bosses. Or, sorry, our 4 bosses. Our 2 bosses. Help I learn how to count, right? Alright, so then we have for a couple other cards to show off here. We have our scenarios, which I'm not going to go into too much depth on each one, but these are just little reference cards for each one. So after you set the book up, you can kind of set these aside. So if we flip them over, it's just going to remind you your victory conditions. So for Blooming Threats, it's if you win if there are no enemies on the map at the end of the 5th round. Turn sequence, fairly simple, because it stays the same. But then we have Scenario 2. Everything changed when the lava appeared. So now if we flip this one over, all champions are destroyed and you survive until the end of that round. And then now in step 4, we add the champions effect in there. So I'm not going to go through each one of these again. I'm going to look at this one third, and then we'll kind of stop looking at the backs there. Rumble in the Jungle. Whoop. I will just kind of flip them over. But this says defeat all 3 fire cost cards, survive till the end of the round. But now we have some A's in there for moving Elder Crown. This is Halloween, which is step number 4. And if you'd like to just read any of these, you can pause them. Sashimi anyone. So what's also really cool about the way this game is played out for scenarios is that there's a scenario that involves each of the heroes. So not only do you have scenarios where you're just kind of playing a normal mission, various hordes, you have some with champions, some with bosses, and some with heroes. You can see each one basically either has a hero or, other than the first one, has either a hero, a boss, or a champion on it. It came from the deep. Oops. And then that just makes it interesting because there's always something different going on. It's not just play with these more harder tiles, play with these more harder tiles. There's always an extra little thing coming. They came from below. Deirdre's Lost Legions. Storm Chasers. The thing is, when you're playing some of these missions, it also means, so if I'm playing this one with Sakam or Deirdre's or this one with Brux's, I can't use them. So it's also going to have to change up your gameplay. If someone's like, ooh, I really love how this character plays. Now you can't use them for a scenario. It's going to force them to play with other characters. All elements break loose. Or 11. And then finally 12. Water, Earth, Air, and Fire. Everyone's favorite pop group. Alright. We are getting down to the end of what we have for content for this. We do have some event cards. So the event cards are going to have these little hourglasses on the back. There will be various things that have you play events throughout the game. They'll tell you which ones to do. So like scenario 3 has you play event A and B. Scenario which kind of gives you an idea of which one it does. Scenario 11 will have you use A, B, and C. So you flip them over, it's going to just give you something else. So it's going to just tell you which one to do. So it's going to, each one is going to say check the rule book for each event. So for example, if we look at scenario 3, if you activate the event, it says, our allies seemingly overwhelmed by hordes, we should give them a chance to catch the breath. Sanctuaries lose protection until the end of the round. Whereas you look at 9, also now you're going to have a bunch of other different stuff happening. They're just things that trigger extra service. So in 10, do you feel that wind? Where is it coming from? Place a cyclone spawn at point 1. The cyclone does not move this turn. Dispel the cyclone. Immediately after Bruxa performs her second ritual, remove the cyclone from play. Yeah, so that's just going to add some extra little casualties and stuff in there. Not casualties, catastrophes, maybe? The word I'm looking for. Alright, then the last thing we have for this video is going to be our Elemental Rift cards. Again, I say this gets kind of tricky. We have our 4 different elements: Earth, Fire, Ice, and Earth. Air, Ice, Earth, and Fire. Yeah, so it's kind of tricky because it's called the Elemental Rift mode. There's also Kingdom Rush, which is called Rift in Time. But what this is basically you set it up and you get to play a special scenario. So I'm just going to take a quick look in the book and we're going to kind of look at it. It says, some things never change and will be under pressure, ready to prove again. So here we have special victory condition. Heroes, you may use all hero abilities. All towers are available. All mods are available. Setting up your hordes. To prepare the hordes, first you need to group them. In group order from the hordes in the game are these. So you have all your different hordes. So group A is going to have greens. Then group B is going to have yellows and reds. And then you see when you get to group D there, you're going to have an Elemental Rift, Cyclone, 2 sets of boss cards, and 10 Elemental Rift cards. So you're going to get some different ones there. You have setting up the map. So there's your 4 different spawn points on this map. There's your exit with your 5 life points. Spawn stack is going to show you how to stack your spawn. Gather the horde cards and prepare the stacks as they go. So you'll have top of the stack, Elemental Rift, Cyclone card, Elemental. So your first one's always going to spawn one of these Elemental Rift cards. Then spawn 2 is going to have Group A, Boss, C, D, D, E, G. 3 will have C, B, I don't know how we, E, E, F, F. So you pull like one card from each one, basically. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting on how each one of those work. Sorry, I did mistake this. This is the Elemental Rift section. The Group D only has them. Let's go how you set everything up. Your different play styles, the same way as all that stuff. So it says prepare the Elemental Rift deck. Which also keep all your champions and all your stuff set aside. Set aside your Cyclone Rift card with C. Set aside the Rift Boss life cards and the Rift Boss reference cards. Note, for players that have Rift in Time, Rift Boss life card reference cards have the Portal Storm backs, as you can use bosses from the Portal Storm. So Portal Storm is this version in the Rift in Time, the original one. Shuffle the rest of the Rift cards, prepare the Rift deck is showing, putting the Cyclone as card 3. Rift Boss's life cards, you need Horde stacks, and Rift Boss reference cards only when they appear. Then prepare all your stuff, then basically play the game as normal. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So it's going to let you set up all these different stuff, and you get to play with all your different cards. You get to mix and match. You don't know which ones you're really going to get, and then you can activate these occasionally. So we'll have like this, which will say Withering Blossoms. So if this card comes up, ooh, camera fell over. After Hordes advance, choose one. Remove one blossom from play. Remove 2 blossoms from the blossom pool. Yeah, so very interesting. We have Tentacle Fury. After Hordes advance, each player places one tentacle on a building site adjacent to the murky pond. Bad Vibrations. After Hordes advance, place a fault line on an empty space. If you cannot, a hero in the kingdom must suffer 1 damage. Eruptions. After Hordes advance, remove all gold crystals from the lava pool. If you remove 2 or more tokens, 1 hero or the kingdom must suffer 1 damage. Then we have Cyclone. Place Cyclone at the spawn point 2. Place 1 exclamation token on the spawn point 4. After Cyclone spawns an extra horde from the spawn point, remove it. 4, remove it, and the token from play. Yeah, so it's got kind of interesting. So there's also the expansions. You'll add more of these cards in here. So then that way you can add the expansion stuff into this game as well. Add some extra things. We'll have Make It Double. Place Shadow Champion on top of spawn stack 2. Place Jack on top of spawn 3. So you know they're coming. Prepare for Trouble and Make It Double. Get a good Pokemon Team Rocket reference. Place Anubis on stack 2, Hobgoblin on stack 3. Then we have just spawn cards. Bringer of the Dead, spawn Anubis. It gains spawn point. From spawn point 2, it gains 1 crystal. Beast from Below, spawn Shadow Champion, Pumpkin King, and Hobgoblin War Chief. So we have those 4 different ones. We can spawn the different champions. And now, again, if you're playing this particular mode, it wants you to do this, put all these guys in here. You could go ahead and take out certain guys or add certain champions in and kind of customize your own matches as well. These could be great ways to like randomly select a boss that have to come in. You could just have these, have them so, oh, which boss do I get? I don't know. So it's kind of fun. Then the last 4 cards we have is we have 1 for Leviathan. Spawn Leviathan on a murky pond. Before Hordes advance, distribute 2 tentacles among the building site adjacent to Leviathan, but no more than 1 tentacle per site. Then if all 4 tentacles are in play, each hero suffers 1 damage. So what happens with this is then you actually get a full card for them, as opposed to pulling out their boss ones that have different levels. You just get a full one you have to fight. And then the same thing is we'll have elements. When Rift Elements activates, choose 1, remove all modifications from 1 tower in this play. You can't use them again in this game. Place a fault line on an empty path. Destroy one tower adjacent to a lava pool, put it back in the supply. And then we have their boss card with 2 different armors on there as well. Yeah, so that's definitely crazy, right? We could use all that different stuff there. So it also does say, mixing and matching with Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time. You can use the boss life and reference cards from Portal Star and Element Rift. You cannot use bosses from Elemental Rift in Portal Storm. So it's basically saying I can take all the bosses from the first game, bring them over to this game, and I can use their cards in here. But I can't take these guys and put them in the other one for whatever reason. And we'll look at more of that. I will do a video after I do all the unboxing for this stuff. I will try and do a video kind of comparing the 2 different games. Maybe see which one you might like more, which one has different stuff, some of that fun things. Alright, so that is what we have for this episode, or part of Kingdom Rush, Elemental Uprising, the bosses. So yeah, come back, check out the next couple of videos. We'll be going through all the different expansions. Alright, see you guys then. Bye.